All right, we're going to call the April 12th meeting of the Murfreesboro City Council to order. I'm going to handle our prayer and pledge, if you will bow with me. Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for the sunshine and what it brings. Lord, we lift up those in our community that have spoken prayers and unspoken prayers for the great weekend that we had for Easter. Lord, we say a special prayer that, Lord, you be with our staff, you be with our men and women that are protecting us every day. Help us make decisions that not only are fitting to you, but are the best decisions for the city of Murfreesboro. Father, we love you and we praise you. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll move into action items. You have the Community Investment Program Fund Transfer.
This is just a housekeeping item to transfer available CIP proceeds from the FY21 unallocated bond premium to the Malloy Lane project.
So motion is second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Averwater? Aye. Mr. Maxwell?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Mayor McFarland?
Aye. All right, the Discovery Center Boardwalk Project. Chris.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This is to reallocate FY21 proceeds for the repair to the Discovery Boardwalk system. If you guys remember, in the early 2000s, the Corps of Engineers constructed the elevated boardwalk around the Murphy Springs. It's tied there to the Discovery Center. Following this construction, the city took on responsibility for the structure and turned it over to the Discovery Center to monitor maintenance. Over the years, the city has responded to requests for maintenance, including board replacement, rail painting, and some rail repair. This past November, the city discovered that substantial maintenance was required due to some lateral movement that had been observed along the boardwalk. For safety purposes, the boardwalk was closed. An engineer was retained to evaluate remediation of the structure. It has been recommended that additional cross bracing be installed at each of the piers throughout the boardwalk. Staff recommends the reallocation of funds, the amount of $300,000 from FY21 bond and loan proceeds available from deferred projects. I've also gave just a detail of the repairs that will be made.
Any questions for Mr. Griffith?
Chris, what's the timeline that would potentially be repaired? Like, are we looking at this 6 months from now, a year from now?
We're absolutely going as fast as we can on it. It's really come down, Councilman, just to a materials issue. We'd like to get started. There's some boards that have to be replaced and some actual just what we'd call superstructure type repairs to do that just within the next month. And then go ahead and put the order in for all the materials, for all the crossbars, everything metal, and it's galvanized metal. So our latest estimate is it's about a 60-day turnaround on that. But we're going to try to. I've committed to the Discovery Center and to the just to get it done absolutely as quick as we can. We're trying to do it with existing contracts, so we won't have to go through the procurement procedures on all of it. And also not having to get as much permitting with it. It's in a wetlands area, but everything's above water, and trying to cut down everything we can.
So in a perfect world,
I think that's what we're shooting for, absolutely. I mean, you're looking at about 300 piers. We're even looking at the possibility if we could get a partial shipment of some of the materials and do the ones that actually caused the closure, go ahead and get that done and maybe open up a portion of it. I think that would certainly be something we could do.
They're very busy in the summer.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of kids, a lot of groups, so that would be great, obviously, if it's done by end of June. So
we're going through we're going through possible material avenues just regularly, just looking at our best options. But I absolutely understand that the summer, especially after school is out, is a critical time for them.
No questions from me.
Yeah, Chris, I think Mr. Maxwell's point is that we've had quite a few people reach out from the community that miss using this.
Yeah.
So as quick as
Great
possible
area.
that you guys could work, that'd be great. Thank you. I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion and second, please call the roll.
Ms. Sagerwater.
Aye.
Mr. Maxwell.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shocklett. Mr. Wade.
Aye.
Mr. Wright. Mayor McFarland.
Thank you.
Chris. All right, we'll move to, on ordinance fiscal year 23 budget amendment. This is ordinance 23014 on first reading.
Thank you. This amendment increases the hotel motel tax revenues and the corresponding transfer to the chamber for their share of the tax. We're also requesting a park special permit facility coordinator position that will process and coordinate the various cooperative use and special use agreements across the city. The amendment results in a net revenue increase of close to $500,000 and an increase of one position to the head count.
Questions? Move for approval. Second. Motion second, please call the roll.
Ms. Sagerwater.
Aye.
Mr. Maxwell.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shocklett. Mr. Wade.
Aye.
Mr. Wright.
Aye.
Mayor McFarland.
All right, we'll move to land use matters, ordinance 22OZ18 zoning for property along Highway 99. This is second and final reading.
Second.
Motion is second, please call the roll.
Ms. Sagerwater.
Aye.
Mr. Maxwell.
Nay.
Vice Mayor Shocklett. Mr. Wade.
Aye.
Mr. Wright. Mayor McFarland.
Aye. Ordinance 2308, amending the zoning ordinance. This is second and final reading.
So moved.
Motion is second, please call the roll.
Ms. Sagerwater.
Aye.
Mr. Maxwell.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shocklett.
Aye.
Mr. Wade.
Aye.
Mr. Wright. Mayor McFarland.
Aye. All right, we'll move into planning commission recommendations. Mr. Bonley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good morning, Mayor and council members. We have 3 public hearings to schedule that have been recommended for approval by the Planning Commission. We don't normally bring these to you to schedule at the workshop, but I know that one of the items has to do with the proposed school on Manson Pike, and they have some deadlines to hit, so we have this before you today. And we're recommending public hearing dates for all 3 of these items of May the 18th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, please call the roll.
Ms. Sagerwater.
Aye.
Mr. Maxwell.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shocklett. Mr. Wade.
Aye.
Mr. Wright. Mayor McFarland.
Thank you. We'll move into the workshop items. We have the Main Street Bridge mural.
That's mine. Hang on a second. Let's see if we can get this ready to share. Well, you have in your packets, so while this is working, I'll talk to you. There we go. There it is. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but if you go by Main Street and Broad, there is a bridge over Lido Creek there, and there's a short parapet wall there. It was looking a little rough. We all get conditioned when we drive by something long enough, but if you looked at it, it was looking a little rough around there. Well, Raymond and his crews did an excellent job on kind of cleaning that up. We changed the fencing out there. It was chain link, and it was coming down, and we put new fencing up there and made it look a lot better. And then I think they've worked on the bridge that's parapet walls that are a little further down, cleaned off the walls, made it look good. So the next step is what we're thinking about is putting up a mural that talks about downtown. This is it's not to say this is the final product, but this is a representative of what that mural might look like. As a matter of fact, that is more of a live version. That was before the work was done, so ignore the ends of the parapet walls there because they look different now. They got cleaned up, but something along those lines to add to the attraction. We cleared it with TDOT. We really don't have any concern about putting this type up there. They don't want advertising, but this isn't really advertising, this is more wayfinding. And we may change a little, the coloring up there is green. I'm not sure if that's actually green, if it's more blue. It's hard to tell when it comes out on these. We might look at a little more blue, which is really the color the city uses on most of its signage. And lettering, you know, I don't know if we'll go with Tennessee or if anybody has any ideas. Most people figure at least what state they're in when they're driving around. But
Orange would be better, but
yeah, well, we've banned orange. But maybe
You're out of order.
Yeah, historic downtown Murfreesboro might be something we can put on either side there, just so people have a little idea where we're at. We haven't thought about the other bridge a little bit further down, but I think it'll make it a lot more attractive, kind of clean up the area as we do some more improvements in the downtown area. So any thoughts? I know it's...
I mean, I was thinking, like, for the one on the top, that it would need to have, like, hot pizza rolls with an arrow pointing to the Dodge store. I mean, if that would
Fried chicken.
Yeah.
sell it for advertisements.
Well, yeah, that's, I don't disagree with that, but I think TDOT will block it.
Mayor, I was going to put no vacancy here.
Yeah.
That would be my only concern, is that what are we going to have to deal with the amount of traffic that we've had issues on that section of the Greenway? Are we going to have issues with having to repaint that all the time? With, you know, we cleaned up, I forget what the number was, but it was like 1,500 pounds worth of mattresses and stuff that people had put under that area right there. So,
Yeah, we're working on that. The other murals in the downtown area, we've had pretty good success. They haven't been defaced very much. We'll try and, you know, we'll have to address it if it does. We'll want it to look pretty good. Right now, it's blank and it's white, so I mean that is as attractive as anything to if you were going to do something over there. So hopefully we don't face that. Eventually, if it becomes an issue, there is paint that's been developed that is washable with most type of markers and spray paint that's used. So it's a common problem. But so far we've been lucky. The murals downtown have stayed, even though they're accessible, they've stayed very clean.
I'm good with it, as long, I would like the blue color that the city uses. I'd probably prefer orange like Austin too.
we would go both colors, orange and blue. Matthew
Don't
would
wanna
like
go
that, he's an Auburn guy.
Well, orange is a traffic
Money
issue.
and not paying it.
I don't know that, I just made it up.
that was good.
Never let the truth get in the way of a good story, right?
Are we voting on this?
Any questions?
Do you need a motion, Craig?
Historic,
No, we'll go,
the historic idea.
I like the
Historic
historic.
downtown as opposed to Tennessee.
yeah, historic downtown. It's a long wall, and the lettering is probably to scale on here, so there's a lot of room. And the tri-stars on the end, I thought looked pretty good. So, okay. All right, well, we'll move forward. I don't think I have that on there. I think it's in there. The pricing on that, I think it's about around a little over 5,000 for each side, so it's not much.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move to Cherry Lane update, engineering.
Thanks again, Mayor and City Council. I want to take this time to give an update on our Cherry Lane project. Realize it's been going on for quite some time as far as its development and just engineering design and actually in right-of-way acquisition now. If you remember, of course, Phase 1 of Cherry Lane was constructed there in front of the Siegel Soccer Park Phase 2 occurs from the soccer park out to Sulphur Springs Road, and then Phase 3, Sulphur Springs Road to 840 on to Broad Street. Just a little bit of information. Phase 2 is fully funded by local funds, and then Phase 3 is actually joint funded using federal dollars, local dollars, and then we're also trying to get the state involved with it. Like I said, Phase 3 is there with goes from Sulphur Springs area, includes an interchange at 840, and terminates currently at Broad Street. That section of the project is currently under right-of-way acquisition. Of course, having to go through all the appraisals, review appraisals, and using negotiators for that.
Hey, Chris, do you mind highlighting for our newer council members, because this goes all the way back to the Chadwick Farm when Mr. Haley was here.
Yeah.
Can you highlight to our new council members the land that we already own that's at the
Sure.
interchange?
It's really kind of this, it's probably not as easy to tell on this, but it actually makes up part of the, and I'm not sure the interchange location is exactly correct, but it's the farm to the, I want to say, to the west side of the interchange there. That's already owned, and of course there's multiple owners up through here. Well, we purchased that back in the mid-2000s. It was actually getting ready to be developed as a subdivision, really just an extension of some of the work that was already out there. And we moved in and purchased that from the Chaddicks before the development occurred. Since then, that was really it was due to the fact that the county's major thoroughfare plan and the city's major thoroughfare plan really weren't aligned with each other. The county didn't have this, and of course that was going to be a county development. But since then, we've worked to align the major thoroughfare plans in a lot better shape than what they were then.
While you're there, and since it was brought up, we'll
Sure.
go back. But,
We can get it.
okay. The parcel that the city owns is, I think it's about 100, where's Sam? Look at Sam, about 160 some odd acres in there. And as part of the budget process, which I think everybody but Jamie's gone through, we talk about a budget plan, setting aside money for a budget plan. So if you notice the bridge, 840 bridge down at the bottom of the picture there, and then go down a little bit, down south to the bridge. And
this here.
yeah, right there. And then south of that is where the Horde property is that's changed hands or about to change hands. So we've worked with the Hordes, and of course we have ourselves up here to do a bubble plan for that, to kind of do a little bit of master planning and thought about how that might develop. You can see there's a lot of green space in there, which is economic development opportunity for all that to develop alongside that road. Somewhat similar to the development at Medical Center. Potentially, if we zone that right and it turns over into the right hand, so we want to obviously capitalize on that as much as possible. But you heard that in the budget discussion, and Jamie will hear it soon. That's what that money's for, that land up there.
That one's under right-of-way acquisition. Jim, is that what, about 30 or 40% complete on the right-of-way acquisition?
I think we've got about close to 50% of the trade complete, about a third of the property acquired.
Gotcha.
David Bacon is a little bit better, but that's small.
And we've got, what, 3 relocations with that? We got 3 relocations as far as residential areas with that. The second phase is the one we've been actually working a little bit more on the alignment with. the last couple of years. If you just kind of get your bearings there, of course, Siegel Soccer Park, we've got the practice fields a little bit further to the west there. Got Leanna Road. It will have an intersection with and on down to Sulphur Springs Road. We did we looked at various alignments way back when we started this project, and really our goal was to minimize the impact on the existing residents out there, and so that's the reason why we kind of took a cross-country approach. Since then, and what's taken up a lot of our efforts the last couple of years is working with the Corps and TDEC on environmental issues. We'll zoom in a little bit closer here. Of course, this is there at the city spray fields, like I said, the Jordan soccer fields, and also the soccer park you see there. But during the process of completing our environmental work, we discovered we were impacting about 11.8 acres of wetlands there that's highlighted in the blue. Now, it's the north side of Murfreesboro. There's a lot of that land up there that's wetland, so it's not surprising that we were hitting some, but I guess the quality of the wetlands, they've got some fairly high quality plants in that area, gave both the Corps and TDEC some concern. We're also impacting about 470 feet of stream there. You can see the streams that are mapped in the area, and 470 is just what we're impacting. We're also running right along probably closer to 1,000 feet or more of stream that's impacted in some way. So honestly, we were able to work out some mitigation plans with TDEC, but the Corps of Engineers still had concerns with the project in whole and wanted us to evaluate several different routes. We looked at just staying on Cherry Lane, going down to the intersection there and heading south, but we came up with this route as a proposed alternative, which basically would still take us through the residential area, but would keep the flow and keep the volume of traffic moving and eliminate the possibility of two different intersections there as part of the road. Now the problem with this, and if you take either the southern route or the northern route, the southern route is 4 probable total takes of residents through this area. The northern route, probably looking at 2 total takes for sure, probably 4. Of course, we're just looking at conceptual plans, but whenever you start looking at where these properties' field lines are and what slopes will do to them, whenever we're looking at the project, you get into 4 possible total takes with it, and then we're just also doing the re-engineering to move the alignment. Now, we feel good environmentally, which is always our big holdup on these as far as the route and moving it to this section, but we would have to kind of go back to the drawing board at least for this section of it. And if I can go. So really, it would just be this section that we were looking to, or we're looking to redesign. And for the most part, once it crosses Siegel Park back to the intersection there, to the next intersection down. So probably about half of Cherry Lane 2. We've got an engineering contract to get us back to, really to get us all the way to redo the design and get us all the way to construction on the entire route would be, I think it's around $650,000 or so. Of course, we would bring that to you at another time. We've looked at a lot of different possibilities, and really, of course, the values on the total takes. This is just a GIS, just using the property assessor's values, looking at about 1.2 to 1.3 million on the land value on that. I will say the mitigation cost of guys that work in construction has really become escalated as well. I think it's about at least $60,000 an acre, and you're looking at a multiplier of about anywhere from 4 times to 10 times the land value. I think we were up to around 20 some odd acres that we were going to have to mitigate. So if you average, $60,000 an acre, 20 some odd acres, it's going to catch you up to those total takes pretty quickly. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. I do believe that if we go this route and go ahead and do the relocation, I think it'll move the project along pretty rapidly and get us caught back up to Cherry Lane, to phase 3 of Cherry Lane.
Can I ask a really dumb question?
Sure.
Going down 65, going into Mobile, 65 pretty much is on top of the river all the way down through there, the last 30 miles. Is there a possibility of building an elevated road over the original track that's not high like a bridge, just elevated enough where you're not in the...
Sure. No, that's actually a really good question. We looked at that. You're just looking at the difference in cost. You're looking at $150 to $200 a square. You start paying for roads by the square foot once you get into bridges, which we're 150 to 200, and it's all got to do with it doesn't really vary much. Based on how much you elevate the road. It's just the fact that you're building a structural deck. And so we just really felt like that it was just getting, it would far exceed these numbers than what we're looking at. But no, that was probably the first thing we looked at. And that was the thing that the Corps actually suggested too, that was an alternative. It doesn't, in my mind, it would still degrade the quality of wetland because you weren't, you would still have to build piers and kind of shade wetlands as opposed to letting them be more in their natural habitat.
And great PowerPoint, by the way. Darren's probably really proud.
Thank you for it. So all this goes to Joe Elliban. He worked, and he says that YouTube is a great friend when putting together PowerPoints like this. He put this thing together from start to finish, and I think I've probably bragged on him about 10 times how impressive it was.
So the issue is wetlands, essentially. So the question I've got is, and I'll put myself in the position of those homeowners. We're going to give them a price, but in today's dollars, I guess what I'm getting at is things have gotten a lot more expensive in terms of housing. And I hate to have to see somebody start over at the end of the day. And I would just put it out there for the council in this particular case is, let's just make sure we're doing the fairest thing possible, because I hate to see a homeowner get displaced and then they're kind of upside down. Where are we going to go? Can I get the same quality, same level of home, and so on and so forth? I mean, Shane, Sean, that's just my initial thoughts.
We can look at, that's a great question, and we can look, we have 3 relocations on phase 3. Those are pretty, I'd say those are very fair relocations. They give them relocation cost, anything they do as far as, money that they would be out as far as moving costs and stuff and buying. And then we even actually, I think, pay for what David, maybe up to a year's rent if they're kind of in the middle of a relocation?
I don't know the terms of that, but there's rental assistance for a party if some of those are occupied by tenants as opposed to homeowners. There's rental assistance available and also moving the tenant. And then there's, we don't directly negotiate the relocation. We have a consultant that's an expert in that, that's very technical, and if you mess it up, you have big problems. So we've got the Volker Company consults with us for that. And on one of the Cherry Lane that is being replaced or displaced right now, there was an additional payment made to bridge at least part of the gap between what we paid him for his property and what was found to be the cost of a replacement property. I don't know that we paid 100% of that difference, but there was a payment that at least went toward that difference that helped that. So under the federal process, the relocations are, they work hard to make it as fair as they can to a person who's displaced by the project.
And that's really, I mean, that's the reason why it's taken us so long to get here. We've looked at and discussed with the Corps multiple options for over a year now, and they're just at a point where they feel like it's a better route.
Any other questions? Chris, what is a timeline realistically that we could be under construction and have something built? Is this 2 years, 3 years?
To get to construction, we're working on 2025 as far as starting construction. I think we're far enough along, and this will go. We still have to go through getting to Councilman Maxwell's question. We'll go back through and hold another public meeting so these guys aren't caught off guard that once we have to. So that'll take a little bit of time, but since it's all locally funded, we'll be able to catch up to phase 3 pretty quickly. So my goal is to be under construction, say the first quarter of 2025. And we're going to stack the construction projects as much as we can. We're going to break phase 3 up into 3 phases. We'll probably only build the first 2 phases. Honestly, the 840 back to Memorial is probably the most important to us right now, unless we come in and get a big user for that little section that Craig was talking about between 840 back to Broad. But that would be its own, the interchange would be a section, going back to Broad would be another section, and going back to Sulphur Springs would be the third, and then of course 2 we would build as one. But we would stack those as much as we can, a lot like what we did with Veterans Parkway.
Okay. Any other questions for Chris? All right, thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move to CIP allocation. Jennifer.
These are reallocations that were discussed, we presented last month during the workshop meeting, moving CIP in order for us to spend down some of the older bond funds. So we, during the past month, have identified some projects that have been approved by council for spending out of the general fund for Town Creek and out of the MED proceeds for transportation. And we've moved those into our bond funds, and we identified Rucker Lane in bond fund that we have now moved into general fund as a reserve account, and MED transportation to be spent later on, because Rucker Lane is one of the projects that was identified as a delayed until later. So until Rucker Lane actually starts moving, it'll be spent when it starts moving out of general fund and MED proceeds. So this is just reporting back to council that those projects were swapped between bond and general fund and MED proceeds.
Any questions? We've already voted on this.
You've already voted on the projects. This is just reporting the move.
We had talked about in council that earlier that whenever we make these swaps, that they would bring that to us just to make sure that we at least saw how that was being transferred. So you don't need a vote or anything on this, so it's for information. All right, we'll move. Any questions for Aaron for the February 2023 dashboard? All right, any board and commission appointments? All right, any licensing?
We have one regular permit for an ownership and name change for a restaurant at 2069 Las Casas Pike. The applicants met the requirements for a permit and is recommended for approval pending final building and codes inspections.
Second.
Motion is second, please call the roll.
Ms. Averwater?
Aye.
Mr. Maxwell?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Shacklet?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Mayor McFarland?
Aye. Any statements?
Yes, sir.
All right, any other business from staff?
We'll meet next Thursday evening, not tomorrow, a week from tomorrow. And have a regular meeting in the evening.
Any other business from council?
Yes. I owe you all an apology, because at the last council meeting, I brought up an issue around the Highway 99 road and the cost of that. And the figure I was given, I thought, based upon the question that I asked, was for that section of road. The figure was for the entire project, from Veterans all the way out to the Ferrari property. So I'm glad y'all caught it. I mean, everybody had their phone out and their calculator and was working it. I think we came to that conclusion, but at the end of the day, I've had information I thought was for that section, so I was wrong and you guys were right at the end of the day. So. You say that happens every now and then, Kurt, or?
I just said, welcome to the council.
Okay.
Austin.
Glad, thank you.
Appreciate that. All right, any other, I had one update, and I wanted to just give you guys a quick, since we're sitting here at the airport, I had WGNS this morning and got asked a question about where MTSU currently is at the airport. And so MTSU had an announcement last week. I mean, I read it in WGNS. We didn't get it sent to us about the economic impact in Bedford County and that they are proceeding forward, moving to Bedford County. So once that announcement came out, I had a conversation with Steve Smith and Dr. McPhee both after Craig and Chad had talked, based on what we've talked about as a council. In that bill, the new airport, when y'all meet on Monday, I don't know if this will be a topic or not, but long story short is that there's 2 years life left on the lease at the end of the terminal here. In that, I think staff has already talked about that they've already had interest of what other things need to be done there because this has been so successful in this room that they're out of space. And then the airport staff has already had discussions with someone who wants to take MTSU's future or old space. And then the third is about the airport commission, or y'all already talked about transitioning in the process to controlled airspace here at the airport with a tower based upon the amount of traffic that we have. So we put that in writing to send to MTSU just so everybody's on the same page, and had that discussion with Dr. McPhee that, you know, because they're making that transition to Shelbyville, that it's important for us as a council now to start making our plans for transitioning to life after MTSU, because 3 years in federal aviation, the FAA timeline is a very short timeline. So I think what we've asked with the staff is to come up with a transition plan to go through the airport commission and through the council that now that MTSU's made their announcement and they're making their plans for the next 3 years, that we go ahead and adopt what our plans are going to be for the next 3 years and what the vision is going to be after MTSU. It's my understanding they were approved for $68 million, and they're asking for another $19 million from the state in this budget, so a total of roughly $85 million is what they're asking for in taxpayer dollars to go to Shelbyville. So we just need to be diligent on what our next steps are, that we're not waiting when we need to make our plans. Did I miss anything, Craig?
I think that's it.
Any questions? All right, seeing none, we'll stand adjourned.